let me show you how to get thicker with your music, obviously. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing a plugin that I downloaded called Thickify. It's a saturation plugin that is using an advanced algorithm that is attempting to make your sounds saturated without compromising the original sound. And apparently it's pretty easy to use and it works really quickly. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Before we do, click the subscribe button. And if you want to check out the plugin for yourself, click in the link in the description below. All right, so first is first, I need my trusty headphones. There we go. And let's jump into the video. All right, so let's take a look at this plugin first. We have this thickness, the stress, drive, some buttons over here, and then 2 faders. We also have this cute little egg-shaped man. And when we increase the parameters of the thickness, the stress, and the drive, it actually makes this little guy dance a little bit with a bit of a creepy, I don't even know what to call that, grin. When we increase the parameters, you can actually see this guy get much more muscular to indicate the thickness. Basically, we have the thickness is going to be like a dry wet knob, or how much of the amount that we're going to be bringing into the sound. Then we have the stress knob, which is going to be more of a saturated sound. And then the drive is going to be a much more aggressive saturation. So I'm not actually going to use the drive too much. Then we have the auto gain and this level right here. When you use saturation on a sound, it usually increases the perceived loudness of the sound, as well as sometimes the peak volume. So this auto gain, I'm going to keep on so that it doesn't get too loud. And then I can adjust this level here if things feel too loud after my saturation. We have some oversampling, which just is making it sound a little bit more high quality. And then we have this bypass button, which turns off and on so we can A/B test our processing. Okay, awesome. Let me do some demos. First, I have this hi-hat. And as I increase this thickness, you're going to hear it get really nice and full. And if I increase the stress, if I max it out, you can see this guy jumping around. Obviously that doesn't sound great, but we're not going to be maxing this out. So we dial back the drive, dial back the stress and the thickness. Bring the stress back up. And let's check before and after. So it feels louder. Let me turn down the level just a little bit to compensate for that. And even with the level a little bit quieter post-processing, it feels much more full. It feels thicker. It's a little bit less sharp as well because the overall sound just feels more full. It kind of just sounds more like a full open hat than a short, punchy, quick hi-hat. Moving on to the second sound, I'll just be using a pure sine wave. So we can see it's a pure sine wave, no processing. Let's grab that Thickify and throw that on. And as I start to bring up my thickness, you'll start to hear more and more of that bass. So obviously maxing it out, we can really hear that saturated sound. But I just want to dial in enough that it feels tasteful and more loud. And before and after. And I can actually turn on the EQ and we can hear just what the saturation is actually bringing into the channel. So that warmth is coming from the saturator plugin, and that is what's making it perceived as louder. It feels warmer, feels fuller and louder. So we're getting more of that perceived volume. It sounds louder of a bass by adding this subtle saturation. If I increase the tone here, we can hear what the tone is actually doing. And if I push that tone all the way up, maybe push my thickness up more, we can hear that it's actually pushing up more of that second octave of bass. And I am getting a little bit of high-end grittiness, so I can even use an EQ to filter out that top end. And we can listen before and after. Just to make sure that we're not taking anything away from the sine wave, I'll EQ out all that saturated sound. And we can test before and after as well. And to me, the sub isn't losing any volume. It's not sounding any different with that saturated bit taken out. So the plugin isn't destroying the original sound. It's just adding to the higher end of that sound, which is giving it that nice warmth and making it feel louder. I'll do two more examples Quickly, I'll just throw this on the bass hook. So it's this bass sound. And I'll do this super quick to show you how easy it is. Okay, that took less than 5 or 6 seconds, and I can just check before and after. And I noticed that there's a little bit more clarity as well coming through the sound. It feels a tiny bit less muddy, a tiny bit punchier, and a little bit more clean in the high end. Pretty subtle, but it is getting just a little bit more quality out of that sound. With a simple plugin like this, that's all I can really ask for. Let's try it on this pad. Turn on the 4 times over sampling. Okay, it's pretty subtle. Okay, there we go. So I'm finding it's doing exactly what it's meant to do. It's thickening up the sound. So the pad string supersaw type thing I have here, it doesn't feel thin to begin with, but when I do add the thickify, it does just feel a little bit fuller. Not a huge difference, but it's thickening that supersaw sound just a little bit, just making it feel overall more full. So Thickify is good for adding a little bit of extra weight and power to your sounds, making them hit a little bit harder. If you want to check out the plugin, click in the link in the description below. When you download the plugin, you also get 3 sample packs as well, and who doesn't love some free samples? Yeah, I need more samples. Hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, check out one of these 2 videos right here where you can learn more about production.